Today I'm sharing our go-to oven fried chicken cutlet. The whole family loves it. It's so fast and easy to make, and I know you're gonna like it too. Hey there, my name's Amy. I'm a mom and natural food chef, and I show up here every week to help you feed your family healthy food more often. I talk about things like healthy choices, feeding kids, and fast meals. And today, this is like the fast meal of all fast meals. And it's the ultimate one because it's a hit with parents and it's a hit with kids, and you're gonna feel really good about feeding this to your family. So I'm gonna show you how to make these oven fried chicken cutlets, but just in case you're not convinced that oven fried chicken cutlets would be awesome, I'm going to convince you. They can easily be made ahead of time, and they keep in the fridge really well, and you can even freeze them and reheat them from frozen. They are very easy and fast to make. And when you make your own chicken cutlets, which are basically like bigger versions of chicken tenders, though you could even just make chicken tenders with this recipe, you control all the ingredients. So I'm going to be sharing with you today the ingredients that I use and give you a template that you can use to kind of make it work for you. Sound good? All right, I will link the full recipe for you down below so that you don't have to take notes as you go along. But there are a few things you're gonna need before you get started. You're gonna need some chicken cutlets. I like to buy thin sliced chicken breasts, which is what I have here. If you can't find that, you could definitely buy chicken tenders, which I often see at Trader Joe's, or you could buy full chicken breasts and you could slice them in half. You want the thinness because that's when it's gonna get crispy on the outside and fully cooked through on the inside, and that's hard to do if you have a thick, regular chicken breast. The next thing you're gonna need are 2 plates and a bowl. The plates are gonna be for our breading and the bowl is for our eggs. This is one of the harder ones for people, so I'm telling you ahead of time so that you make sure you have this on hand before you try to make this recipe. You need a very sturdy, flat baking sheet. I have made this with big baking sheets that kind of twist in the past. And the problem with that is like we're coating the oil and we're letting that heat up before we put the chicken on it. And when that happens and your pan is bending, it all goes to the edges, so you won't get an evenly crispy piece of chicken. I'm gonna give you some tips for combating that as we go along, but you do want a sturdy, flat baking sheet, and not just for this, it's good for lots of other things too. Before we do anything with the chicken itself, we are going to get the baking sheet heating up. So I'm putting about 2 tablespoons of butter around the bottom of the pan. And then I'm using a oil that can be used with high heat. I prefer avocado oil to other vegetable oils, and I'm just kind of coating that all around. So what we're gonna do is put this in our preheated 400-degree oven while we're making the chicken cutlets. And then when we put them down, it's gonna basically start frying them in the pan. It's super clean. You can use less fat and oil, but it's still gonna give it that crispy exterior that not just kids like, but I really like too, and probably you do also. So this is going in the oven. By the way, if you didn't want to use butter for some reason, if you are dairy-free, you could definitely just use avocado oil and heat that up. And it does get a little bit smoky in there. That's the other thing to know. So in our first position, I'm using Bob's Red Mill gluten-free 1-to-1 baking flour. We have a mixed allergy household, meaning I don't eat gluten, but my family does. And honestly, they don't even notice that this is gluten-free. So for my breading, I'm using gluten-free flour and gluten-free breadcrumbs. If you're not concerned about gluten in your house, then you could use whole wheat flour, white whole wheat flour, regular flour, whatever you have on hand is gonna be fine there. So I'm using the flour and a pinch of salt and some pepper. In the middle position, we're putting 2 eggs. We may need more, but we're gonna start with 2. I always use a fork to mix those together. You want it fully incorporated. And then finally, we're gonna put these gluten-free panko breadcrumbs. I thought one of them was open. If you're not gluten-free, again, you don't need to worry about the gluten-free ones. You could utilize here your favorite other panko breadcrumbs. I love using a whole wheat flour breadcrumb just for a little bit of that extra nutrition and fiber for my family. But this is what I use for these. I've also in the past used rice cereal, kind of like Rice Krispies that I mash up together, and that makes a really good crispy coating as well. And then we want some salt and pepper here too. Now it's time to get messy. And you can see these are nice and thinly sliced. So what happens now is that you want to coat each side with the flour. This is called a double coating. So this is going to give you a really crispy coating versus just a single one. Then it goes into the egg. You can kind of let the egg drip off a little bit. You don't need a ton of egg on here to make the other coating stick, but that's what it's there for. And then I press it into the panko breadcrumbs, and I like to get a nice, good coating on there. And it will look like that. So I got through about 0.7 pounds of chicken with that coating, but now I'm running low. That's actually strategic because it gets a little bit eggy and stuff, and I find it's better to add some fresh stuff as we go along. So I'm gonna add some fresh coating and then do some more. And I actually like to do a big batch of these at a time when I can because it makes a pretty big mess. So the more the better. If you're gonna keep them in the fridge, they'll last about 3 days, and I just reheat them at 350 in the oven to get them kind of crispy on the outside, or you could pan fry them to get them nice and crispy. If I freeze them, then I similarly will bake at 350. I just let them defrost first from the oven and then bake them from there. If you are paleo or grain-free, I've seen some really interesting recipes for chicken cutlets like this. I haven't tried it with this recipe, but you could try something like a paleo flour blend, or even just almond flour was probably what I'd use in the first coating. And then you could obviously use the egg in the middle. And for the final coating, you could use something like crushed up siete tortilla chips. That's actually a suggestion I got from Kristen Cavallari's book. It's an interesting technique that you might give a try if you're looking for something that's truly grain-free. All right, I can smell that this butter and oil is melting. It's been just a few minutes, but that's your cue to get some chicken tenders on there. So it's all melted. I like to kind of try and move the pan around so that it gets coated all over. And I'll show you what it looks like, if I can balance this correctly, to put these chicken tenders on. They're gonna get about 10 minutes on each side, and the goal is to get them in contact with that oil and butter to fry the outside and cook them through. Actually, these are pretty thin, so I'm gonna try more like 8 minutes each side. I'll let you know how that goes. All right, it has been 8 minutes on each side.
Those are drizzling a lot.
They look so good. See how they're nice and crispy? Let's check both sides. Ooh, nice and crispy on both sides. You can check that they're cooked all the way through with a meat thermometer. This one was like $7 at Home Goods. Nothing fancy. All right, definitely cooked through, maybe a little bit overcooked, so you could go a little bit lighter on yours. But now that these are done, you can serve them. You could serve them with a sauce, ketchup for kids, hot sauce for adults. We love buffalo sauce. You can also then cool these off, store them in the fridge or in the freezer for easy future meals. I'm telling you, these are gonna be a hit with your family. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. And I think you'd love to see these videos next.